You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we welcome in Nicholas Cronauer, trial lawyer and nationally ranked personal injury lawyer at Cronauer Law in Sycamore, Illinois. How are you, Nick?
Doing well, Ben. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, good to have you. How far is Sycamore from Chicago?
About an hour.
About an hour away. Okay.
No traffic. With traffic, who knows how long, but generally an hour.
Very good. Okay. So we haven't featured your story yet on Instagram. That's at lawyer_stories. And now we're doing them on LinkedIn and we're doing them on Facebook. But it's pretty awesome. Like, it's definitely like a cool story, like growing up in like a small town and like you kind of going into a law firm and helping it, a family law firm, and helping it grow and excel. So you grew up in a small agricultural community. It's called Hinckley. Is that right? Illinois. So, and your dad was a lawyer and he was taking on some cases, like he did a lot of business stuff. So tell us a little bit about that growing up in Hinckley.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I grew up, obviously when you're growing up in a small town, you want to escape a small town, but it was a great town, great education, served me well, great people, great community. But yeah, I mean, grew up. He was obviously an attorney as well, but more general practice, small office, wills and trusts, probate, not really litigation, some business stuff, corporate stuff. So just kind of, master of none, but specialized in a little bit of everything.
So would he go to court at all? Or I know you said he kind of farmed out like a lot of the bigger cases that he would get.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of, the local courthouse here is actually beautiful, something out of like you'd see out of a textbook. But yeah, I mean, I feel like there's always something going on at court, but not necessarily a jury trial at court.
Got you. Okay. So like a motion or something like that.
Correct.
Okay. Right. So
a lot of bench trials, hearings for judge heard cases.
So I like to ask like why somebody decided to go to law school. And obviously like, your dad was an attorney, and you had a moment or a time in high school when there was like an agricultural issue, right? That like pitted people from the town against each other, said in your story. I think it's super interesting. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the 1980 hit classic movie Footloose, but like reading the story, like with the, it kind of gave me like Footloose vibes, like the towns against each other, that whole like let them dance type of thing. It was sort of like let them farm. I don't know if there's like any sort of similarity there.
I've heard of the movie. To be honest, I don't know if I've ever seen it.
Oh, okay.
Go watch it.
Yeah, you might have to watch that later tonight. So tell us what happened. Like, what was the moment? I mean, you're definitely one to fight for the underdog.
Yeah, so I mean, growing up in a big agricultural community, I mean, my high school parking lot's full of jacked up pickup trucks, 4-H.
Okay.
We didn't have football, so ag is big, right? And there was actually a girl who was in my high school class. It was a small class. We had 77 kids total that graduated. Her dad was trying to put up a confined animal feeding operation, which the short term is CAFO. And if you Google that, you'll see it's a huge polarizing issue. People are for it, people are against it. Obviously, if you tend to be pro-ag, you tend to be for it. But if you live around it, you tend to be against it. Even if you don't live around it, there's whole animal humane rights issues that are raised. But even putting all that aside, it's just basically there's a lot of animals in a very confined space, feeding, crapping, and then that crap's got to go somewhere. And that's all sorts of issues.
Oh, real? So, okay. So people were upset about like where they didn't want the crap to go like in a certain place, and some were saying it was okay and that sort of thing.
Correct. Well, you got the animals alone that smell.
Okay.
We're out in the country, but animals alone smell. And then the fact that they're all literally they've got to relieve themselves like humans in the confined space, and then that has to get spread generally on fields. Well, smell is one thing. Another whole issue is what's called nitrates can
Okay.
impact the water quality. Nitrates are bad in water. So there's all sorts of environmental concerns, human health concerns,
Got it.
and so it's a big issue in ag communities. So being in an ag community and being from an ag community, when my dad was approached to help represent the homeowners to try to stop it, obviously that put up kind of I'll say David versus Goliath, but there's people just like anything in politics. You're pro ag or you're against ag, right? There's no middle ground.
Right, right, right. So at that point, you sort of said, you say in your story that the situation taught you not to go with the status quo or what's popular and easy, but to stand up for others. So I love that. And so, like, what does that mean to you?
I mean, a lot of people like to avoid confrontation. A lot of people don't like to be uncomfortable,
Right,
and generally being a trial lawyer is a lot of being uncomfortable and trying to. A lot of people don't like you, right? I mean, every time I file a lawsuit, generally you're going to make someone mad that you're suing. You're going to make their friends mad. You're going to make people mad, and if you let that get to you, you're not going to be effective at your job. It's the same thing. To take us back to the high school story, I mean, there were lots of people that were very unhappy, with my dad, with me for being related,
right,
from the same blood per se. And it's just all about, you know, if you do what people want you to do, or if you do what's comfortable, I think that's what keeps people from really thriving in life.
and I think people would respect somebody who has their own opinion when it comes down to it, right? Who wants to fight for something that might not be so traditional.
Yep.
After a while, I think they start to respect you for that.
Nope, agree. Don't have to like someone, but if you respect them, that's good
Yeah,
enough.
right, for sure. Um, so do you think like having a area of law, like having like a situation that happened to you back in high school and then doing what you do today, like do you think that like how does that help you as an attorney? Like do you think it's important to have those connections to like kind of go through a situation that maybe like one of your clients is going through?
Absolutely. I mean, is it absolutely necessary? No. Is it very helpful? Yes. Does it create empathy? Does it create your ability to connect? Does it create your ability to understand so you can articulate to others and to the jury, what they're going through? I think without a doubt.
Okay, yeah, no, for sure. Um, so your dad sounds awesome, first of all. Like he sounds like he did like a lot of good work in the town. He was like a town lawyer. Like people would go to him with their issues. Um, so like was he what kind of a mentor was he for you? And like do you have any other mentors?
So, that's a good question. And he was, I would say, in the bigger scheme of life, right? He's takes great character, worked hard, did the best he could. He moved around a lot as a kid. First to go to law school, and so from that standpoint, yes. From a trial standpoint, he hasn't done a jury trial in 30 years. So there, from
Right.
that, he really couldn't teach me here's what it takes to be good in front of a jury. Here's what it takes to, work up a big case. Here's the experts you need. So from that standpoint, that was kind of me, I guess having the ability to have that freedom, right? Other than working for someone,
Right.
for him, I could kind of do what I wanted. But that was kind of me trying to figure it out. There's times felt like a rudderless ship, because this is me trying to build something. So what I did is, I mean, I associated with some other great lawyers that did trial
Yep.
work, and immense from them. Um, Followed a lot of the big trial lawyers out of Chicago. Anytime I could get my hands on anything that they would do, listen to it, read transcripts, watch them, go downtown a lot, watch them do it. Uh,
Wow.
Read, a lot of the books, the trial lawyer guide books, all the David Ball books, um, Mitnick books, any book I can get my hand on, read a lot of that. And, finally, the last few years, I feel like it's starting to click.
So like that takes a lot of effort. I mean, you had a lot of passion and drive to become like the best you could be as a trial lawyer. And I'm guessing your dad encouraged that too. He was like, "Go ahead and do that." Like I know you said at one point he was giving you like articles to read. Like I think that's kind of cool. Like he wanted to keep you involved. Like even though the work might not have been flowing, but so that's a I think that's a big deal, and like that's a big point to make about like the type of lawyer you are, like and how you wanted to become the best that you could be. Like you were going into Chicago just to like watch trials.
Mhm. Yep, absolutely. And the thing with the books is a lot of that. This is what I tell new lawyers when you hire them. I mean, law school teaches you the theory of law, not how to practice law. And I had this too during the day. You've got cases to work on. You got to talk to clients. You've got everything that goes with managing law practice. So a lot of the self study, the self learning comes after hours, weekends. Obviously now I have 3 kids, so my
Yeah,
time. But before I had kids, I had a lot more free time to spend a lot more time after hours trying to learn, and obviously
yeah.
during the workday for actual trials. But yeah, it's a lot of you're working more than 40 hours a week, no doubt.
Wow, it's amazing. So like, I read somewhere about being a fearless lawyer. What does it mean to you to be a fearless lawyer?
I mean, I think you've got to obviously take risks. You've got to be able to not be concerned about um, you know I don't want to say money, sure things about money, but you got to be able to take a case to trial, and if you lose, you can go on to the next one, right?
Yeah.
When a good lawyer, a really good lawyer from Chicago, said in a seminar once, good cases should get tried, bad cases should get settled, and most lawyers reverse that, right?
Okay. Why
So
is that? Like they're trying something they think is like a slow layup, and it's just not.
no, I think people settle their good cases probably for less than they could get if they were to try them, and then
Okay.
bad cases because they can't get enough to
Gotcha.
move
Okay.
forward. So then they try them and lose.
Yeah, that makes sense. And by the way, speaking on trying cases, congrats on your record verdict this past May in one of the counties. Do you want to share any of that?
Here, yeah, no, that was actually my home county, DeKalb. Verdict, week-long trial, tragic case, dram shop mixed with negligence.
Ooh.
Um, Driver was overserved at a bar. My client was the mom. The passenger was also intoxicated. He passed away in a crash, but
Wow.
fought hard. And long story. I'm happy to go into details, but we had 2 guys who were intoxicated at a bar. Unfortunately, crashed, and they did all they can to blame everyone but themselves.
Wow, that's great. And there was a dram shop law in the town.
So, yeah, so Illinois, unfortunately, we're generally a great state to practice law, but one of the things that's terrible about Illinois law is we have dram shop limits, and right now it's up to 95,000 for the death of a human being, which is
Wow.
in and of itself. But so in this case, we're able to basically also allege negligence against the bar, which then is an escape hatch to the dram,
Mhm.
and we that pass motion to dismiss, summary judgment, get it to the jury, and the jury found in our favor, which means we got the full amount. There's no caps.
Wow. So like what? And that was a negligence case that you had to move it to, not the Dram Shop Act. You had to go like strict, like you had to go with negligence, basically.
Correct.
How long
Correct.
does it take to get past the motion to dismiss and the summary judgment? Like how long did that take in that case?
I mean, so this case was filed in 16, and it was supposed to go to trial in 2020, but was that 4 years? The
Yep.
motion takes 6 months, summary judgment takes 6 months, discovery in between. But to your point too, to go back to the fearlessness, this is a case that early on, had they just offered the dram without making me have to work for it, in all intents and purposes, we probably would have taken it. They wouldn't offer anything, and because of that, rather than it's hard to put on a trial for a case where the max recovery is 95,000 anymore. So because of that, we put on, we made a negligence count stick, came up with a theory, a viable theory, a valid theory that fact supported,
Hmm.
um, ran with it. But if we went to trial, we could have gone to trial. The jury found against us on negligence and for us in the dram, and we would have had more money in that trial
Wow.
than the cap, right? So, um, fearlessness is kind of just taking what you can get and running with it and hoping for the best.
Yeah. Totally. Um, so like just to shift gears here a little bit, congrats again on that verdict. That's awesome. What that happened this past May.
Yep.
So what was your law school experience like? And like how does it actually differ from practice today?
Good question. Overall, I had a great law school experience. At the time, again, being from a small school, I did fine academically. I was top third or whatever you want to say, but with 77 kids, that's not that high, right? Good GPA. I never was really good at standardized tests. Usually,
Yep.
those average was a good score.
Would you
So
say you usually bomb those? Cut
yeah,
out.
standardized tests I
Yeah.
was using average to maybe
Yeah.
slightly, nothing fantastic, nothing special. So I went to Valparaiso. It was the only school I got into. I think I got waitlisted at my local school, NIU, ironically. And so went there, and that's in Northwest Indiana, if people aren't familiar. So it's
Okay.
kind of behind the Chicago market. Doesn't really have a good foothold in Chicago, but it
How far is that from where you're from?
about 2 hours.
Okay.
But being, and they're also in the shadow of Notre Dame. They're about an hour from Notre Dame.
Okay.
Everyone knows Notre Dame. So, but overall, they have a pretty good, the benefit of going outside Illinois, outside Chicago, is they kind of had a good relationship with federal courts. So,
Okay.
I did really well in law school. I was able to clerk for a federal judge, which was a great experience. So, I barely got in, but I excelled and was top of the class there. So, those of you that struggle at
That's
standard,
awesome. That's awesome.
take
That's
it,
all you need. I mean, that's all you need. Just get in and do the
get.
best you can. Right? Yeah.
But the
Right.
standardized,
You're cutting out a little bit, Nick.
sorry.
No, that's okay. So yeah, just get in and work hard, like you said. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. So what advice would you have for a new law grad?
I mean, you got to figure out what type of law you want to practice. I think harder in today's climate to do like the general practice stuff, like my dad did and did reasonably well on with technology, with software, with wills and trusts being automated. It just seems like the market's different. Find what you want, specialize, and you got to work hard and you got to hustle because graduating law school it gives you the ability to do well. It doesn't mean you're going to do well. And I think a lot of people use that.
Right, and that kind of goes to like another question I had for you about like, why some of the like the more lawyers who aren't as successful, and then they suffer from like health issues, and then they're like they have a lesser salary, and then they're like high performers that like drive up the average salary of lawyers. I was just thinking about that today when I was looking at your website, like. You have these people that get lawyers that get huge verdicts, but you have some lawyers that aren't, they're just sort of making like an average pay. So I don't know, like, what, like, why is that? Do you know why that would happen?
Yes. So I think a lot of lawyers struggle from, um, maybe here's a better way to frame it. Have you read the book E-Myth? Have you heard of that book?
No.
E-Myth is a great book that anyone that's running their own firm or wants to run their own firm should read. E-Myth talks about there's basically three personality types in business, right? Everyone thinks they're an entrepreneur. Most people are not entrepreneurs, they're technicians. And what that means is you get stuck in a grind working in the business, trying to get out proof of service, motions, all the tedious stuff that just bogs you down rather than having the ability to work on your business, to get to the big trials, to focus on, becoming a better trial lawyer so that you
Yeah.
can have the success that'll help have you hire more people, have more resources, more automations that you can, again, spend less time doing the minutia, more time doing the bigger things. So a lot of lawyers, I think, in my opinion, they try to do everything themselves and then becoming a technician, they get bogged down in doing the nitty gritty day to day when that is not what they. I mean, I struggled from that too when I first started. It was me, my dad, a part time secretary, and I'm there doing certificates of service. I'm there doing proof of services. I'm there trying to mail out letters. Right. Well, you're not gonna get better at what you do if you're sitting there trying to send out certificates of of service all day, every day for your motions.
Right. No, for sure. So, I think a lot of people think like litigation is the same as like, you litigate, you go to court, like it's the same sort of thing. But what would you say is like the difference between a trial lawyer and a litigator?
Good question. And I love that distinction because anytime I hear someone say they're a litigator or they're in litigation, I just it's just ironic to me because there's a lot of people who claim to be litigators, and what that means to me is they will push paper, do all the discovery, go through the motion practice, but then when push comes to shove, it's time to go to trial. They'll shut it down, and that means they'll settle, or if you're a defense, you will agree to settle, right? Whereas I think people that coin themselves trial lawyers tend to be the ones that actually go to court, go to battle, you know, win or lose, they come out a better person, and obviously represent their clients zealously versus litigators. So I think tend to shut it down right when the trial lawyer starts to amp up.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. So like, what advice do you have for someone who's trying to improve their trial skills?
I think the best thing you can do to start would be to figure out who is doing trials in your area and go to court and just watch. You don't have to watch the whole trial.
Yeah.
I watched a trial a month ago, 2 months ago, downtown with a firm that I've heard of, knew was good, but I've never ever knew when they're putting on trials on, heard of it. I think that's a big help. And two, just getting hooked up and connected with all the local trial lawyer groups, the state trial lawyer groups. They put on seminars. Usually it's kind of the big wigs of the state. Go watch, go listen, take whatever they'll give you, take it home, digest it, read it, absorb it.
That's awesome. I think that's great advice, Nick. So we just went through this like 2-year period of COVID, and I know a lot of law firms did things sort of differently, hybrid schedules, Zoom hearings. How would you say COVID changed the practice of law?
So from a litigation standpoint, I'm doing a lot more. It's things I'm getting used to, but Zoom and remote work it's a blessing and a curse, but I think it's going to be here to stay. I think there's going to be a lot more remoteness. One thing, after spending basically a year at your office, not traveling for expert deposition, you realize what a waste of resources and energy it is, and how totally unnecessary.
Really? Okay.
But there's still some depths you got to take in person. You want to eye the expert up or whatever. But
and do you even feel that way, like having employees? Like, do you even feel like I don't want to send this employee to do this? Like, I want them to do that on the Zoom sort of thing.
Yes, I mean, I went from not liking Zoom, thinking you had to be Zoom, to I think Zoom is efficient. I think any effectiveness you lose, I think, is minimal in the grand scheme of life, in the sense that money's saved, and more importantly, your energy and your bandwidth is saved, so that you can go home at night and not worry about catching a flight.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
I think you're going to see a lot more remote witness testimony, which that part I don't think I will ever come around to, but it seems like more courts are starting to promote like Zoom trials, right? I think that makes it possibly hard for juries to weigh credibility when you can't see the whole person, but
it's weird. The only thing I've been involved in is I was a sponsor for one of my buddies who got sworn into the state of Maine. I'm licensed in 3 states, and it was weird. I mean, they had you like stand up when you walk in, like for the judge, and then usually you'd be like standing, but you're sitting. And I think my friend was standing the whole time, but it's just kind of like a weird thing not to be like standing, and like, because they called on me to make my motion for my friend, and I made my motion, but I was like sitting. You know what I mean? It kind of feels weird to like be in that forum, but I mean, maybe that's just where we're going.
I really feel, I think the Johnny Depp trial kind of showed this. I feel like you lose some formality, you lose some.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but the I don't want to say the court loses respect, but people seem to misbehave and be more disrespectful. I feel like when there's a computer screen between them and the judge versus when the judge is.
Yeah. Only in Florida, though. I mean, there's like, I feel like I kept reading articles out of Florida, like people like swimming on a raft, like trying to get a motion done, or like in bed, you know? No disrespect, I love Florida, but anyway, so I just thought that was kind of funny.
I think there's the whole joke, right? Google man in Florida and put your birth date in and see what crazy crime pops up.
What is that now? Put your birth
Put,
date in and see what,
put your
what?
man in Florida plus your birth date and see what crazy Florida man crime pops up.
Wow, okay, I'll have to do
The
that.
thing. So
Um,
on the right track.
so how did, tell us about like a good lawyer, like work-life balance. You said you had three kids. How do you manage that all? You know, you're a trial lawyer, very demanding. You have employees now. You have what, 12 employees?
12 employees.
12 employees. That's awesome. Congrats, by the way. I want to talk about that in a minute, but like give us like law firm balance.
Yep. And I think it goes back to everyone should read E-Myth because you got to figure out how to delegate and assign out and use vendors, right, for anything you can, so they can free your time to do what you want to do. But obviously, the more success you have, the more employees you can have, which means you can have more people doing more things. But the flip to that is, and I struggle with this too. Sometimes the more employees you have doesn't mean the more work's getting done. It means sometimes less work's getting done because there's too much socializing. There's too, more people you hire, more people you got to train, and it just it's a balancing act. But I would say E-Myth so that people can learn how to work in their business, not work on their business, not in their business, to help free up their time to do other things they want to do.
Right. So you really helped. I mean, you went into your dad's firm, right? And he was doing certain things, but you've helped it grow. I mean, I think like you got to sort of give yourself a round of applause for that. You know what I mean? Like you're at you were it was you, your dad, and a part-time
Secretary.
secretary, right?
Mhm.
And then you're at like 12. You're at 12 employees now. Like tell us about the growth of your law firm.
And like anything, people always think growth's linear, right? It's really not. Growth is kind of compounds and explosive. So, the first, I remember coming home to my wife the first 5, 6 years, feeling like I worked way too hard for, not seeing great results. And then like 17, 16, kind of had my first big hit. And then 17 was big. We got a nice big verdict, but that didn't pay until 18. And then basically from then on up, it's just been trying to, grow, scale, and take on more cases and help more people.
But I mean, you hired a lot of people. I mean, you have people working for you. You have paralegals. You have another lawyer, a couple lawyers.
Yes, and it's weird too because it's one of those things where it's like you wake. It's not like you're like, oh, we're gonna hire 12 people. It's like you hire one, and then you hire another one, and you hire one. Next thing you know, you're up to 12, and then
When do
two.
you make the decision? How do you make the decision that you could hire somebody full time?
It's just a matter of looking at the cash flow, the money in the bank, the
Yep.
case pipeline. New cases coming in. It's easier now than it was, but there is a period of time. You got to take out um, lines of credit, mortgages, and stuff like that. And again, going back to your fearlessness, gotta take risk. Otherwise, good things aren't going to happen.
Right. So okay. So you do have to do those things if that's how you want it to work sometimes.
Initially, back in 16, 17, when things were coming in, and then you can use that to kind of parlay it into to more resources to hire more people.
Right. Right. Um, so I have a question here that I want to ask. Like, what non-law books? This is sort of a we're sort of shifting gears. Well, like, what non-law books would you recommend to somebody who, like, a lawyer that would help them be better at business?
I
Because
think
you're obviously a business person too.
E-Myth, obviously, the one thing is really good. Start with Why is also really good. Another book that is law related, well, I say it's law related, but you wouldn't think it. I think it really is good to help people understand money and how to explain money to a jury. It's a book called Killing Sacred Cows. And and that's a really, really good book. It's a financial book. It's more like Rich Dad Poor Dad, if you read that book, but
Yep.
more about like investing and things of that. But I think it's a really good book. The concepts on how to apply money to something intangible like human life.
Okay. So how proud like is your dad now? Like, is he still at the firm like all the time or what?
No, I mean he's slowing down. He comes called banker hours.
Okay.
Had a transition last year to an of counsel role. I think he was hoping to retire fully this upcoming year. Still has some cases going on, but we'll see. But no, it's just my birthday last week, and wrote me a nice card about how proud he was. So
Happy birthday. There you go.
thank you.
I'll ask you how old you are like after the show. I won't ask you right now. So what's like the best part of being like your own boss?
I think the flexibility. It's nice to
Yeah.
be able to say on Friday at noon I'm gonna finish working at home, right? Or the other best part of being your own boss is some of these trial lawyer seminars. We were talking about Chris before, but
Yeah.
doing things like linear, trial by human, I mean stuff like that. Meet great people from all across the country, build great connections.
Great connections. Yeah. Well, Lawyer Stories wants to do that for you too. So, like, if you ever see somebody that you might want to connect with and just like network with a little bit, like that's the heart and soul. Like, we want to put you together with those lawyers. So just let me know, and if
Okay.
we know them, we'll make a warm introduction for sure. Tell us what kind of cases you're taking right now. In a majority of.
So yes, I mean I pride ourselves on a civil trial firm. I struggled for a long time with saying we are a personal injury firm, like a lot of lawyers, because we do have other cases, and I like trials. It does seem like personal injury tends to be the most cases that get tried for various reasons, but primarily anymore it's personal injury, wrongful death. But we have settled case last year, big trade secrets dispute. Have a couple commercial clients that seems like there's always contracts being breached that have to be sued over. So we do
Yep.
that, but honestly, at the end of the day, I don't like the hourly work. I hate the hourly work. I love the contingent fee work because I feel
Okay.
like us and the client are on the same page. I hourly always feel like you're feasting on the client. I just doesn't sit
Right.
with.
Okay. That's totally fair. And I encourage everybody to check out your website. It's awesome. Like it's really you have all your employees on there. You have all your credentials, your accolades, like what you do. It's really cool, and I think your story's awesome. Like I'm looking forward to featuring you on Lawyer Stories. By the way, you need to send me over a photo. I'll email you that and remind you. But is there anything else? Like, do you have any other advice for the Lawyer Stories community? Like, do we cover everything?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's just using the term ABH. So we always got to be hustling and learning and
Always.
trying to be better. And tactics change, juries change, post COVID people change. So curiosity is good, and being uncomfortable is good.
Being uncomfortable is good. I like that. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I enjoyed my time hanging out, Nick, and virtually hanging out. And we'll definitely stay in touch. And everybody, stay right there. Everybody else, wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.